Good morning, welcome to the channel. We're in a very sunny but cold village of Haworth today, home of the Brontes, to do a lovely 8-mile walk up to top Withens and back, and to see a fantastic village of Haworth. So we're just walking through the top of the high street now, and in a moment we'll go past the famous Bronte Parsonage where the Brontes used to live and the school that they're used to teaching. So I'll spin you around and have a look at the Bronte Parsonage Museum as we then set off through the side of the graveyard and up over onto the moors towards top Withens. It's now a community hall, and I've had a couple of fantastic birthday parties in there, or been to a couple of fantastic birthday parties in there. Good times. And this is the Bronte Parsonage, now a museum. I'll tell you more about that as we get further along. And it's a fantastic day for it. Right, so coming out of the Parsonage Museum and across past the graveyard, you get to this little intersection and you turn right. It's not often that you see that in the UK, is it? A sign that tells you the way to go in Japanese. Right, onwards we go. So it's about 3 miles to top Withens, which is one of the most iconic parts in Bronte Country. And what the fact do I know about the Brontes, you might ask? Well, I've got 10 interesting facts, some of which you may know, some of which you may not. Play along and see how many of these that you know, and I'll tell you all about them as we do this walk. And it's shaping up to be a brilliant day already. So the first fact for you is that the Reverend Patrick Bronte, father of the famous sisters, was born at Imdale in County Down in Ireland. Came from really humble beginnings. His father was a road builder, farmhand and fence fixer, and he was originally called Patrick Bronte, B-R-U-N-T-Y. However, when he came to England, he subsequently changed his name to the more genteel version of Bronte, B-R-O-N-T-E. So as we're following this path along the edge of the moors, we have Lower Lathe Reservoir in front. Zoom into, see if you can see that. And then further to our left, over the moors and on towards top Withens. Beware of the puddles. Some of this ice isn't as thick as you think it is. Fact number 2, few of you may already know this, but although Haworth is synonymous with the Brontes and the Brontes synonymous with Haworth, in actual fact that's not where they were born. All the Bronte siblings were actually born in Thornton on the outskirts of Bradford, and they moved to Haworth in 1820 when Patrick became the Reverend of Haworth. And actually the house that they were born in Thornton, now you can actually go and visit there. It's been bought by the community museum, and actually you can stay in the house that they were born in, so you can go and stay overnight in the rooms that they were born in. So isn't that fabulous? So if you get the chance while you're over here, you must go over to Thornton to see the birthplace of the Brontes. Right, and onwards. Try not to slip on this ice, Julian. So as we walk along this track, in about a mile or so, we will get to the Bronte Falls, which is really nice. And then we'll cross over the stream and go up the hill the other side and onwards towards Top Withens. And if you remember my last video, which was a winter hike up to Buckden Pike, which was fabulous, really good video, although I would say that, wouldn't I? I talked about doing the virtual spine challenge, which meant I had 268 miles of walking to do in the month of January. You'll be pleased to know I completed it. On the 21st of January, I did 55 miles in the last 3 days, pounding the streets of Calderdale, and I'm now wearing the result of it, this spine virtual buff. It was really good. Glad I did it, although it was hard work. And dear viewer, I did get a little bit competitive, even though I shouldn't have done, and I ended up coming 15th in that. So fact number 3, did you know that there were actually 6 Bronte siblings born between 1814 and 1820? There was Maria, Elizabeth, Charlotte, Branwell, the only son, Emma, or Anne even, and Emily. And Maria and Elizabeth died in 1825 of tuberculosis. Charlotte was the oldest one to live. She got to the grand old age of 39. And in actual fact, it's recorded that they all died of tuberculosis, which killed about 25% of the population back in those days. It's recorded that Charlotte died of complications of giving birth, but actually on the death certificate it was recorded as tuberculosis, and she died with her unborn child, which is a bit sad. So yeah, the being in a parsonage and having all the trappings of wealth didn't really mean a lot in the end, unfortunately. Bit wet. So as we come up to the Bronte Falls, and I try not to slip on the ice, here's fact number 4. I just have to write, because I cannot help it, wrote Charlotte Bronte in her journal in 1836. She was the most prolific of the Bronte sisters, with the most published books being Jane Eyre, of course, one of the great classics of English literature, The Professor, Villette and Shirley, and The Professor was actually published in 1857, 2 years after she passed away. and I shall show you the Bronte Bridge and falls as we come to it, although there's not much in the way of falls, to be fair. So we've got up this hill now for about 50 metres, and then we'll head left on the path, which will take us towards Top Withens. I wonder how special my hair is looking now I've taken my hat off. What do you think? Yeah, it's not good, is it? What do you mean I always look like that? Cheeky sod. You could be forgiven for thinking this is a bit of a harsh and bleak landscape as I spin you around. Basically, dry stone walls and dark moorland in all direction. But actually there's something particularly beautiful about it all at the same time. And especially knowing that you're walking on paths that have been here hundreds of years and pack horse trails that have been used for hundreds of years, some of them even by the Brontes themselves. And over the right, over the top there, is a little village called Wycoller that I'll be visiting on my next YouTube video, so keep an eye out for that. And also Pondon Hall, where the Brontes used to play with the children who lived in Pondon Hall back in the day. And yes, another glorious day. Right, on we go. Look at this for a kind of gatepost. Isn't that magnificent? So today's the February the 17th. Despite it raining for nearly every day in the UK this year so far, the paths are surprisingly not that muddy. But I'm putting it down to the fact that it's been very cold, and I think the frozen ground is holding all the moisture in. I think if it had been a few degrees warmer, it might have been a bit more muddier than this. I might have spoken a bit too early though. Now I don't know if you can make out the lone tree and house in the distance, and there's someone there who looks like her wearing an orange jacket, but that is Top Withens, the objective of the day. So we should be there in about another 20 minutes. What was I saying about paths not being muddy? Luckily there's a little diversion around here. So did you know that the Bronte sisters had their books published under pseudonyms? So Charlotte Bronte was Currer Bell, Anne Bronte was Acton Bell, and Emily Bronte was Ellis Bell. And that was because at the time society's norms pretty much dictated that women shouldn't be writing. It was unladylike for them to earn money from writing novels, and it was not really socially acceptable. But it's a good job they did. But you'll be surprised at how many women actually wrote under pseudonyms to hide their real identities and provide anonymity. Careful on those steps when it's icy. I've just stacked it trying to do that. Luckily the camera's alright and I'm alright. thought I'd ruined the camera then for a minute. Thankfully, it's okay. Looking back towards Haworth there, and across and into the Yorkshire Dales. We're now only 200 metres to top Withens. So here we have top Withens, often thought to be the inspiration for the book Wuthering Heights, but pay attention to the plaque because apparently not. And an iconic place, and situated right on the Pennine Way. So if you come to do Pennine Way, you will walk right past it, and there's a little bothy at the end that you can take shelter in. Very much a ruin now. So I hope you enjoyed that view of top Withens there. The drone footage you've just seen hopefully will come out okay. And we're just gonna do a little out and back, so we're going back down towards the Bronte Falls, but hopefully we'll take a right path in a few minutes and do a bit of a loop. And fact number 6 is that Emily Brontë, who wrote the absolute classic of English literature, Wuthering Heights, of which Top Withens is inspired from it, was her only published book, and she actually died only 1 year after the book was published. I think she'd be quite proud of the success of it and all the number of films that have come out since, which the latest one is out now, starring Margot Robbie as Cathy. I was actually going to do a performative dance at Top Withens to commemorate Emily Brontë, Wuthering Heights, and of course Kate Bush's classic 1970s song. However, it's quite a busy place. There's not a cat's chance in hell I was going to start prancing around like Napoleon Dynamite in front of a load of people. You'll have to wait another day for something like that. Let me tell you about fact number 7. Did you know that Anne Grey? Right, no, not Anne Grey. Anne Bronte, dick. Right, as we head back on this little path, taking us on a loop back to Haworth, let me tell you a little fact. Fact number 7. Anne Bronte, the authors of Agnes Grey and the tenant of Wildfell Hall, is the only Bronte sister not to have a film adaptation of her books. Yes, she had a TV adaptation of the tenant of Wildfell Hall, but no film. The only one not to do so. Right, come on Hollywood, sort it out. Decisions to be made. Which way? Top Withens behind. No idea to the right. Haworth to the right. We shall head to Haworth and finish the factoids that we came to talk about. Now, fact number 8 concerns Patrick Branwell Bronte, most commonly known as Branwell, the only son from the Reverend Patrick Bronte and his wife Maria. And Patrick, or Branwell, could almost have a book and film written after him on his own. In actual fact, Daphne du Maurier even wrote a book all about him. He was known to be a genius by his father and his sisters. However, he also liked descending into alcohol and laudanum, which was a kind of opiate drug popular at the time. So Branwell decided one day, after studying art, that he was going to make a name for himself as an artist in London. He never managed to get there. He burnt through the entire allowance that his father had given him in cafes of ill repute, which is some going. So he never made it there, and he came back home, and then he ended up getting a job for Mr. Robinson, but he was dismissed from that job for having an affair with the wife of Mr. Robinson, Mrs. Robinson. And after Mr. Robinson died, Mrs. Robinson wrote to Branwell to tell him that she didn't want to have anything to do with him. That sent him in a bit of a spiral, further descending into alcohol and laudanum, where eventually he died of tuberculosis. Emily, I believe it was, said that his situation had been hopeless, and according to an eyewitness, Branwell insisted on dying stood up. Lord only knows why, but apparently that's what he did. And that guy deserves a book and a film, all of his own right, I think, don't you? What a nutter. Oh, now I've done it. Spoke too soon. I'm in a whole host of bog. I may get wet. Thank goodness some of this is frozen over. Oh, that wasn't too bad after all. Left turn, Clyde. Oh, on a good track now. No more bogs. Fact number 9 is all about the little books that Emily, Charlotte, Anne and Branwell used to write when they were little. They measured 6 by 3 centimetres, tiny little books, needing magnifying glasses to be able to read the words. And there was a series of 6 books all about a fictional place in Africa called Glasstown. The books were actually written for the toy soldiers that Branwell owned. And the Bronte Society owned 4 of these books. 1 book was deemed to be missing or lost. And in 2011, the final book came up for auction. It was bought by a French businessman, who then was done by the French authorities for a fraudulent investment scheme, in which case his museum, which contained the book, was shut down. In 2019, the book then came back up for auction, and the Bronte Society managed to win the auction, paying $777,000 for this book, which is now in the Bronte Parsonage Museum in Haworth. And in a further twist about these books, Charlotte also wrote a number of other tiny little books. One of which had poems in it, 10 poems, over 4,000 words, and the book came up for auction in 2022. It was the last of Charlotte's books that was in private hands, and the Friends of National Libraries managed to raise $1.25 million to be able to buy this book, which they promptly did, and then donated it to the Parsonage Museum, the Bronte Society. And that book can be seen again in the museum, where you can go and visit and have a look at the places or the rooms that they lived in and wrote in. What an incredible twist of fate and a brilliant story. And I forgot to mention that the book written by Charlotte, and I've written it down because I can never remember the title, is called A Book of Rhymes by Charlotte Bronte, sold by nobody and printed by herself. That's the title of the book. What an amazing imagination. I'm just going to have my sandwich before I get to the road, and then the last stretch over to Haworth. And what have I got today? The finest ciabatta, cut in half, then smeared, that's right, smeared with Lurpak. And then the finest ham available in Tesco's, hand laid on the bread, topped with ready salted, crinkle cut Seabrook crisps. Soft yet crunchy. It's a taste sensation. Honestly, if you've never had a ham and crisp sandwich, you really need to be re-looking at your life choices. Oh, that's good. That is good. And the 10th and final fact of the day concerns the Reverend Patrick Bronte, who died in 1861. He died 6 years after Charlotte, his last surviving child, had died, and he was aged 84, not of tuberculosis. So he outlived all of his children and his wife by 40 years. Hope you've enjoyed the facts. I'm now all facted out. No more facts to give. All that remains now is to get into Haworth and show you the wonderful main street, and then up towards the Bronte Parsonage Museum. But before we get to Haworth Main Street, where I'm not really going to talk, I need to tell you a little story about songs of praise, Christingle parade up the main street, and a flash gun. So this concerns my best mate. I'm not going to reveal his identity. Let's call him Paul, shall we say. And we were here one Christmas for the Christingle parade up the main street, and it just so happened to be that they were filming Songs of Praise at the time, and Pete Waterman you know, from Stockaken and Waterman, you know, Kylie Minogue's hits, all that kind of thing. He was actually doing the filming. And my mate, Paul, decided it'd be a really good idea to just keep setting his flash gun off at Pete Waterman. And he could see Pete Waterman getting more and more angry as time went on. But of course he couldn't do anything, because it's been filmed for songs of praise. And it wouldn't be very Christian, would it, punching someone who was just happened to be stood there with a camera. Funny though, something we've never forgotten. Right, I'll get through this strange gate. So here we are, back to the start, back to the Bronte Parsonage Museum, just over 8 miles. Hope you've enjoyed that video. If you have, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Ta-ra!